Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. I have Hamza as my guest co-host today, and our guest today is Sarah. So, Sarah, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do for a living.
With Flourish Roam out of Moscow, Ohio. We are just 35 minutes east of Cincinnati. My husband and I run where we raise beef cattle, sheep, Berkshire pork, and pasture-raised chicken.
So, how did you and your husband get started in this business?
Went through college kind of in our own pathways and actually both got our PhDs in animal science and pre-harvest food safety. And so we've always had really a desire to learn about animals, to care about them, really learn about the gut health of animals. And after we graduated from Texas Tech, we really kind of wanted to jump in. We'd had our daughter. And we looked at as an opportunity to wanting to raise our kids and our family on a farm, and we moved back to Ohio. And we're able to lease some land from my parents to kind of get started with raising regenerative meats that we could provide to customers all across the country.
What's your biggest challenge when starting this business?
I think the biggest challenge for us is kind of a twofold, because at farming and agriculture, you have a challenge with access to land and capital to get started. And I know getting access to capital for any young entrepreneur starting out is a big limitation. So that was kind of one of our first big hurdles of how do we get that. And then our second one was how do we move to market. This was prior to COVID when people were really connecting with their farmers. And so how do we get into a market where we're trying to find customers and give them a different option besides the traditional, maybe grocery store that they've been accustomed to.
So, Sarah, what's the role of technology in your business?
What's considered rural America, and our biggest limitation, probably you can tell also by the lack of connectivity that we have 100%. We don't have broadband internet. To connect consumers to the farm and buy on the farm, as well as technologies that we can look at the farm to help nutritional values as well. Some of that right now is limited by our lack of broadband internet.
In terms of, you mentioned e-commerce. So do you Shopify? Like, what kind of platforms are you using for e-commerce business?
I've used a very large array of e-commerce businesses, but right now I have landed on Shopify in terms of inventory management, customer order management, and that we can continue to add on. I think there's always limitations to every platform that we've tried. Nothing I think has been 100%, but it seems to check a lot of the boxes for us right now.
Like you mentioned Shopify limitations. So what would you say are some of the limitations that your Shopify store has that you kind of wish it had?
It's great that it has a lot of, I'll say, add-ons that you can do to it, but finding the right one. A large portion of our online business is through a subscription platform. And so finding the subscription platform that can function, I'll say, for a small business as me and not be cost prohibitive in terms of customer order fulfillment, changes, additions. That's kind of been one of the biggest limitations, trying to figure out what works. And migrating payment solutions over has still been kind of a challenge.
So, is there artificial intelligence involved in this?
I say I have not implemented any type of AI technology into anything that we've done so far. I'm kind of a one-man show when it comes to our business, so I think it would be great to figure out ways to implement that, especially in terms of marketing, to go out and find and reach new customers, bringing them in and kind of working through the flow of a website that, will work through what customers want, what they like, what piques their interest.
For sure. So you mentioned marketing and reaching new customers. Like, what is your strategy right now to reach more people and grow this business?
Yeah. So a marketing strategy has definitely been something that I've been or about. I had no marketing background getting into this. I didn't have a business background. My husband, I didn't. The way of that. And so I've been trying to target our local market, which is Cincinnati, and then Ohio, but we've got customers all across the country that we service on a weekly basis. And so doing some pretty much on the back end, a little bit of paid advertising for local markets. And then we do use a lot of social media has been kind of our biggest success where we found through that.
So when you're reaching local people, do you also attend farmers markets or in-person events, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, and so I launched our business in 2016, and I implemented additional farmers markets over the years, trying to reach different areas across the city. We're only 35 minutes from Cincinnati, so it's a pretty easy trip for us to get down to a farmers market. But over the last 2 years, I've moved away from farmers markets. I did use them primarily as a marketing like point of contact, because I think when people buy their food, they don't really question it when they go into a local grocery chain. But when you're looking at buying directly from a farmer, they seem to have a lot more questions. And so being able to build those relationships through the farmers markets has been a really good way to build that initial customer base, but it's not necessarily a long-term for our operation, our farm. We've got 3 young children now. It's not sustainable. It was taking away a lot of my time off the farm, taking care of the animals, the day-to-day things. When you're looking at raising animals, get to a farmer's market with meat requires a lot more infrastructure in terms of truck and trailer and driving ability than, say, if you're going to sell a box of candles at a farmer's market. You can sell send any employee with a box to go sell that truck and trailer. It takes very skilled to do that in time. So we have been able to move away from farmers markets over the last 2 years, but it does have its place. I think when people are kind of getting started out and launching for their marketing.
So, what a typical day looks for you?
A typical day, I'll say 3 to 4 months. My husband has kind of shifted his roles on the farm, an off-farm job working in a biotechnology and infrastructure. And I have another part-time job as well that I dabble in and do alongside the farm. And so get them out the door, whether they're going to school or daycare for the day. I have a 16-month-old who is with me still full-time. In him right now, so I could speak to you guys without him. The rotations with our head. We have if you can imagine a greenhouse. A lot of people are familiar with a big outdoor greenhouse structure. It's 20 by 40 feet long. It holds 650 pastured chickens, and that gets moved every day to fresh grass. The pasture-raised hogs get fed, and then we do rotations, pasture rotations with our cattle and our sheep on a daily or bi-daily basis, depending on where they're at, and get done. And then it's just like kind of cleaning your house. There's lots of other things around the farm that have to take tasks and stuff that get done to keep the farm fully operational. Mowing hay. We're in this year with the drought that we're seeing across the country, so we're planting some. My husband planted some winter oats this past weekend to provide additional forage for the animals that we can harvest for hay. And so I think every day is kind of a little different on the farm. You have your daily tasks, and then there's always something else or new that needs done or fixed or built along the way.
So, what is the definition of success for you?
For success, for us, really, it's to be I would like to have both my husband and I full time on the farm, and so that's going to look like having additional growth and expansion within the business, whether it's growth through our current market channels and the products we currently raise and sell, or it's diversifying and looking at alternative, maybe value-added products that we can grow to where we're both being employed full-time by our own business, not having to rely on additional outside, income. I used to teach at a local university for a couple of years as well. And so being able to step away from some of those responsibilities and focus strictly just on our business. I'd like to be able to grow our business to reach, a larger percentage of customers to add in. I think would really be able to support that and support that growth. And then also, I want to be able to grow the economy in our local community. I think that there's a big need for collaboration and jobs in our local small rural town. And so if we can grow our business in a way that we can employ additional workforce from our local community, as well as finding a way to collaborate with the local career and technical education school that has young individuals who really want to get into the workforce. If we can create a program that allows them additional training and hands-on experience, to me, that's kind of where we would see a lot of success for our business.
Awesome. Yeah, I think, being able to create jobs for people is one of the best feelings in the world, and especially when you're able to help people out in your community. I mean, that's really an incredible thing.
Yeah. We do have a couple high schoolers that work for us part-time off and on. You asked kind of what the day in the life it looks like. I took two of our kids home last night at 8:00 from the farm, but my husband and our middle son, who's 5, and 2 of our high school employees stayed and loaded out chickens to take to the processor. I think they got done at 10:00 last night because we have to wait till it gets cooled off, and they were all loaded in the truck and headed to the processor at 7. Well, no, they left at 5:00 this morning to be there by 7. And to see these young men and young women that want to come in, and it's hard work. It's not easy. It's not the easiest, it's not an air conditioning job, but to support them and also hear what their future goals are, because they might not want to work in agriculture, but to provide them a way that they can have a job that they can use to whatever career. I mean, that's what
Yeah, definitely. So what would you say makes you better than your competition?
We've always, when we started out doing this, they call it direct to consumer meat sales. One thing I really like about this industry in agriculture is I have friends all across the country that do the same or very similar to what we do. They either raise, just cattle or beef, or a combination of everything we raise. And one thing I found is that it's a community of people that really support each other and what they do. And if people ask me what makes us different than the neighbor that they could also buy from, and one thing we're really proud of what we raise is the quality and consistency of the product. So every time your steak or your pounded ground beef is going to be we really pride ourselves on the genetics that we use for our Black Angus beef. We raise 100% Berkshire pork, our pasture-raised chicken, and now we raise a heritage Navajo chicken, or Navajo sheep. Something you're not going to find in your traditional grocery store. And then the other thing is the service. I mean, all my customers work directly with me. I do have a friend that helps me pack our ranch club boxes once a month. And so making sure that quality and the consistency, we've never, over the last 7 years, and never lost a customer because of the quality. We've actually got customers that have tried other places, like, oh, we'll go try it. Maybe it is a little bit cheaper over at this other place. And they're like, that was the worst mistake they could ever do is leave, and they come back. And so we pride ourselves on the quality and the consistency, making sure that our animals are raised with integrity, that they're getting the highest nutritional quality that they can, and the best care that they can while we raise them.
100%. I feel like oftentimes people, say, oh, this place is cheaper, but to your point, you get, what you pay for. And if you're paying more, and if you're providing more value, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And I've never been one that I'm not going to provide any type of scare tactics for marketing. It's really easy to get lost and see people that do that. And as a small entrepreneur, it's sometimes frustrating. I never want to share that story because it's not 99.9% true. It's what they're sharing as fear mongering isn't true. The entire supply chain, but really one health for the animal's health, and then the local community as well.
And so what is your top priority for your business in the next 3 to 6 months?
looking at the use of, you mentioned like AI technology, how we can kind of implement that. I know for me to implement some of that tech that in, so I'm building some relationships and finding some relationships with people that can help me build some of those workflows to communicate with customers, make that buying decision easier for them, help answering a lot of the questions maybe customers have before clicking kind of that buy button. Is one thing that I've really been working on to continue doing, as well as implementing maybe some additional marketing pathways to continue to reach new customers. Other things implementing on the farm and animal side that we would continue to focus on.
So, what's the biggest piece of advice you wished you knew before you started being a founder?
So, really, the biggest advice I give anybody about being like a farmer jumping in is not to be people in our local community, older farmers that, they always question what you're doing. My dad never went with the farming side that my husband and I do now. He had a couple cows that my husband and I manage. And so we're continually always trying to do better. We're implementing new practices on the farm and the business that people aren't familiar with around our area. And so we're always constantly kind of hitting those hurdles of, well, this isn't how we used to do it. Well, if we were going to continue to do it the way it's always been done, you're going to continue to lose money the way farm money over generations and going out of business, doing things different. And that's okay. And to know that when you're going in, whether it's agriculture or farming, is that you need to go in and do things differently, because that's where you're going to find your success. You can look at how people have done things in the past, pick up some pieces that you can try to kind of start with, but just always know that it's okay to do things differently and find your success through those different, whether they're through their regenerative practices or different animals or species or different business practices as well.
Sure. So if we're going to have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you expect things to go for your business?
Well, some of my goals, we do have some things in the pipeline we're working on. I can't disclose it now what it is exactly, but we have some big changes and some big opportunities that we're really pursuing to add in to diversify the business where we're working on, and pick up a little piece of the chain from farm to consumer that we've never had before, and to continue to offer additional product to our customers. So that's kind of where I'm really excited for where we're going. And it's all through being able to talking to individuals across the country that have allowed this to happen. So I'm really excited for it.
We're excited too. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you or your business, what's the best way? If you can share your website, or best way just to get in touch with you?
Yeah. Best thing is go to our website. You can find me on any social media platform. I'll say any. Facebook and Instagram are our two largest platforms. It's Flourish and Roam, FLOURISH, and Roam, ROAM. And that's the best way for people to call us or find our website.
That's great. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for your time. As I said, we're definitely rooting for you. Hopefully we can chat again in 1 year from now as you guys keep growing and scaling your business. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, you too.